Okay, so this is a very quick little romp through a very simple diagnostics process aimed really at managers, so team supervisors, line managers, and it's about solving the performance puzzle. Is what happens when there's something not going quite right with the team and you've got this idea that you might want some training, and really what you're saying is things aren't going as well as they are, so where do I go from here? So the next steps really is looking at how you can think about the performance and what you might need to do to kind of work with that and diagnose what's going wrong. So here's these simple steps for you. Start looking at the performance as a system. So there's some people on your team that are pulling levers and turning cogs. There's a bunch of inputs into that little performance box and then some outputs. And clearly if the outputs are what you want, then there's either something wrong inside the box or something that can be improved, or the inputs are not so good. So let's start looking at this as a system and looking at the performance of that system. So fairly obviously the performance that is going to be there and created within the system is going to depend on the capability of the people within that box, within the system. And that capability has two different components that lead into it. And that's what we'll be looking at, is how to look at that capability. But first, we need to take a very quick look at what we mean by capability. And to do that, we've got this chap called Mike the mechanic here who's going to help. You can see he's a very good and intelligent looking mechanic. And he's trying to fix a car. But just assume for the moment that the spare part he needs to fix that car is not available to him in the garage. So he's a very competent mechanic. You can see that. It's very obvious from the way he's wearing those overalls. But if he doesn't have the spare part, he cannot fix the car right now. So he's competent but not capable. And you need to get really clear on that distinction. So capability here we're defining is, can the worker do the job in front of them, yes or no? That's another slightly different way of looking at capability than you might have thought about. Here's Dennis the donkey. So here's another little image to help you think about that. So Dennis, again, you can see very competent donkey, but right now is incapable of pulling the cart, which is his job. So we have a competent donkey who's incapable. And the reason he's incapable actually is because his cart's being poorly loaded by the driver there. So the cart's all out of balance. And actually sending Dennis off to donkey school really isn't going to help very much. What we've got to do is fix the real problem. So what we need to look at is a diagnostics process to help you look at the problems that are occurring in terms of performance and dig into those to find out, well, where are the levers that we can pull to fix those performance problems. So let's get back to our little performance diagram here. And there's two factors that lead into capability now that we've defined capability in the way that we have. Can the worker do the job in front of them? Are they capable of doing it right now, in the moment, at the point of work when they're asked to do it? And of course, one of the components that feeds into that is the performer themselves, the worker who's performing that task, and the various things they will need to make up the fact that they are competent and can bring that competence to the point of work. Things like knowledge and facts, there's the skills and expertise, in other words, practiced skills, insight and understanding on how to use that skills and knowledge within the context they find themselves. Their mental state, by that I mean like, are they motivated? Are they engaged? Do they want to go and do it? And sometimes their physical state, in other words, are they strong enough? Have they enough manual dexterity or whatever to do the job that's been asked? And in some jobs that's important, others jobs not so much. So is the performer, is the worker competent, and are they ready to do it? And then the other side of that is the environment that surrounds that performer when they're on stage doing their performance. And this is all of the things that surround them that are part of their environment. This is the systems, the processes, tools, spare parts. I mean, remember we said Mike the mechanic, if he didn't have the spare part, he was going to be rendered incapable. By the way, that EPS in there means electronic performance system. So this is any online tools and databases you might have access to. So these are all of the things that make up, and there might be more than that, that make up the competence of the environment. And you see overall now we've got that together. So in order for someone to be capable at the point of work, the performer needs to be competent and bring that competence to the point of work. And the environment also needs to be competent. And those two things together will mean that that worker is capable of doing the job when they're asked to do it at the point of work. So here's a very simple cause-effect diagnostics tool, sometimes called the Ishikawa diagram or the fishbone diagram. Look it up online. There's lots of stuff about it. And what you can do there is each side of that diagram we looked at before, the left-hand side was about the performer. So you can say, well, if the performer's not capable, what are the contributing causes that might lead to the effect of them not being capable? So utilize this sort of branching structure and start asking why. And then you'll find that down these different branches, you might then find some problems. Now, fairly clearly, when we talk about Mike the mechanic, there's nothing on this fishbone diagram that would mean that Mike is not competent. So therefore, you've got to do a second fishbone diagram that looks at the right-hand side of that chart that we showed you before. So that's really how you can start digging into that performance. Hopefully it made you stop and think. Hopefully it did. It made me stop and think the first time I saw all of this. And here's a couple of things you can go and grab. You'll be able to get a copy of this slide deck, no doubt. But there's a couple of free tips booklets for you to go and download if you want, for managers and for personal tips, and other stuff on my blog. So feel free to go and grab what you want from there. And I wish you well with your performance diagnostics.